Hello guys, welcome back to another cook on the channel, and today we are doing chicken shawarma on the Weber rotisserie. I've done these once or twice in the past. The rotisserie is a fantastic way to do shawarma. I've also done it a few times just with skewers, so you skewer up the meat and just either set them across the barbecue or onto the cooking grates, but the rotisserie is a nice way to get plenty of those nice gnarly charred bits on it. You tend to do it a little bit hotter in the rotisserie because it's constantly rotating. So we're doing this with chicken thighs. So I already have a bowl in true Blue Peter fashion. This is one I prepared earlier because you need to get it into a marinade. Key thing to pack flavour into those chicken legs, chicken thighs, is to let it marinate overnight. So last night I prepared this. So this is roughly, after they've been deboned, this is roughly around 2.5 kilos of chicken thighs. Then we made up a bit of a marinade with oil and lemon juice. There's cumin in there, paprika, cayenne pepper, salt, pepper, lots of stuff. I will leave a link in the description if you want the full details for the marinade. You can check it out. So they've been sitting overnight in the fridge, and now we need to get them onto the spit to get them onto the rotisserie. By the way, being cheap and deboning 2.5 kilos of chicken thighs, not my favourite thing to do. Okay, so we have our spit and our forks. Pointy end goes into the motor, but we need it to skewer through the meat, so we're going to put a fork onto this end first. Now we can thread our meat on from this end, and that will build up the shawarma, and then the last fork goes on. The one thing I don't like about the Weber rotisserie is it's only a double prong on it. For doing something like this here, usually you would thread the thigh on a 4-prong one onto 2 prongs, and then the next one will go on to the other 2 prongs. You could always put extra ones on, but that's a bit of a faff. So today we're going to sort of have a longer, flatter shawarma rather than a nice big round one, but it'll still taste good. So we have our chicken thighs that have been marinating overnight. There's no other way around this, it's going to get messy. So just go through the middle of the chicken thigh, slide it down, and then stretch it out over those prongs. So hopefully you can see that kind of catches it and holds it out flat, stops it flopping about too much. And the idea is to build everyone on top of that, pack them down relatively tight, and then the whole thing cooks as one mass. But all these little knobbly bits on the edge, that's what gives you them nice little charred bits. So again, 2.5 kilos is a decent sized shawarma. It's not the biggest I've ever done, but I couldn't bear to debone anymore. Oh, that would have been awful. Took me forever. So onto one prong, stretch it out over the other one, and then push it down to meet the last one. So we're going to build them up in layers like that. Then once I get closer to the end, I'll show you how to put this one on and cinch the whole thing together. So once we get up to this point, we're coming to the ends of these prongs here. So the next one will go on fine, but after that there's not much to hold it in place. So if you grab yourself a single prong or a double prong, and we want to push these through just to extend out those forks. So I just go in either side of the prongs on the actual rotisserie and push those up through. All the way up. That gives us an extra prong then that we can still feed stuff down onto, and it will stop it spinning round. And then same on the other side. So now we can thread the rest of it onto this, and then the rest of it will be held in place by that second prong. Okay, so with all the chicken on, I've spun this around just to show you. So this is our spike end. These last portion here aren't on the skewers. The skewers finish maybe around here, and from here on they're just sitting there threaded. Now if we were to put that on the rotisserie, those would just flop around, so we need to get them onto this fork. So I've just threaded them on there. We put the fork on, and you can either one at a time pull them onto the fork like so, or you can fix the fork in place, and then you can use both hands just to take one at a time and pull the edges out. And each of them get threaded on like that. Okay, so this is the last one that isn't on the skewers. So stretch it out onto each prong, like so. Then if we loosen this off, we can then push this entire end up. Try and make sure it's catching some of that first part of the chicken, and then push it, and push the whole thing tight together. Hold a little bit of tension on it and tighten that down. Now, before I cinch it down completely, if we take a look, we're not in the middle, so we have more of a gap at this side. So I'm going to loosen both of these off slightly and push the whole thing through until we have a pretty even gap on both sides, and then tighten down the thumb screws. So we have a pretty flat shawarma. That's all going to turn. All them little knobbly bits are going to char up nicely. There is one other thing I want to do before I put it on, and that is to put a bit more seasoning onto it. We've loads of flavour in there with the marinade, but I'm actually going to give it a go with the al pastor rub from Smokey Carter. So this is designed for shawarma. You can do other stuff with it as well, but I thought this would be a perfect idea just to get a bit of flavouring on the outside too. Go ahead and give it a dusting all over with that. Don't need to go too heavy on it because obviously we have that marinade in there with loads of flavour in it too, but this is just going to add a nice little texture to the outside of it as well. Those little crispy bits, extra crispy. Perfect. So that's it, ready for the barbecue. One bonus about barbecuing at this time of the year, you can leave your stuff outside because it is probably colder out here than it is in my fridge at the minute. So we'll go over, take a look at the barbecue and see how we're setting it up. Okay, we have our Weber kettle set up with lumpwood charcoal on both sides. Spit's going to sit in the middle. Before I put it on, I'm going to stick the drip pan in there because there will be oil and all sorts dripping off this, so I want to catch it in there. I don't want that in the bottom of the barbecue. So we can bring our spit over, set it in place. Make sure we're setting in those little tabs so it spins properly. Adjust you guys here so you can see. Then flick it on, let it start spinning. It should spin pretty evenly. As I say, it's not like having a chicken or a turkey on there. The meat's pretty even weight wise on it, so it should spin nice and freely. And these little bits here, there's going to be the little pitmaster nibbles. Temperature wise, we're probably sitting around 200 degrees or so. Going to get the lid back on, stop the coals firing up too much. We're bursting into flames here at the minute, but we'll get the lid on, regulate that airflow and keep it sitting around 200. Then we'll just come back every now and again and have a check on it. Okay, our shawarma has been spinning for just over an hour. I have probed it with the thermopen and we are hitting an internal temperature of around 81, 82, which is what I like to go to for thighs. I think they at least need to go into the 80s for them to be pretty tender. So we're going to lift it off, going to let it rest for a little while, and then we'll slice a bit off it and give it a try. But I'm pretty excited about it. It looks incredible. A few nice little black gnarly bits on there, but not too bad. So there should still be a good amount of flavour on the outside of it. I cannot wait to try it. It is pitch black now. Gotta love them winter cooks. smells so good. Chicken is still really moist. Even taking it a bit further, I know we always say don't overcook chicken. Taking legs and thighs up to the 80s definitely makes a huge difference. They're a bit more tender to the bite, but they're still more than juicy. So I've carved a little bit off. I've made up a little bit of a garlic sauce. I made this in the channel before. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. Then, time to tuck in. A nice gnarly outside piece. That is phenomenal. Such nice flavour all the way through the meat from the marinade, and on the outside then that crust and the charcoal flavour, that rub then adding a little bit of extra crust on the outside. It is something special. It makes standing, deboning all those chicken thighs more than worth it. As most rotisserie cooks are, it's a pretty simple one. If you want to give it a go, I'll leave the link in the description for the marinade and a rough technique for it. You know, stick it on, let it spin around. But all the ingredients will be in the description box below. I'll also leave a link to the garlic sauce. I think it might have been my gyros video I done it in, not sure. But I'll find it and I'll leave a link in the description box below if you want to give the garlic sauce a try too. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.